After 4 videos, 40 states, and over an hour of analysis and discussion, we have at last made it to the 5th and final video ranking the states of the US based on their roller coaster collection. The long awaited top 10 is here, folks. I'm sure many of you watching are from the states that have yet to be mentioned, and hopefully are at the edge of your seat, wondering where they're going to place. So enough chit chat, let's just get right to this all, shall we? The 10 best states in the US for roller coasters. Let's freaking go. So what state is number 10? Well, it's once again one of those few states that do wooden coasters a whole lot better than steel. It's the Hoosier state of Indiana. There are 2 major parks of note here, both loving the wooden versions, especially from CCI. Let's start with Indiana Beach, the extremely quirky and weird waterside park that is anything but typical. There's a total of 3 wooden coasters here, all CCIs. Hoosier Hurricane and Cornball Express are a nice little duo, the latter providing some really solid airtime moments with only buzz bar restraints. And Hoosier Hurricane, while not quite as good, really utilizes that water setting. Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain is maybe the most bizarre roller coaster ever made. You're locked in a cage, 2 people forward, 2 backward, with an elevator lift, some special effects. I so wish this wasn't closed on my first and only visit. They got the super steep S&S Steel Hog, a Galaxy, and 2 Schwarzkopfs, one being a simple Jetstar, the other, finally opening this year, being the controversial All-American Triple Loop. Look up the history of this thing, all I'll say. But Indiana is known for another park, maybe the best pure family-operated park in the country, Holiday World in Santa Claus. One of the best top-to-bottom coaster lineups anywhere. Raven and Legend are icons, the former providing an airtime-filled journey through the woods, the latter with some of the strongest laterals on any coaster. Masterclass rides from CCI. Thunderbird is the US's only launched wing coaster, and it's pretty widely seen as the best wing period in the US. Good Gravy looks to be a phenomenally themed family boomerang. And oh yeah, there's a little tiny 6,500 foot long gravity group called the Voyage. No big deal. Just probably the best wooden coaster ever built. An opinion many enthusiasts share. Just having Voyage alone would get Indiana to at least the top 20. But add everything else here, yeah, Indiana is a top 10 state, folks. Just no denying it. Single digi time. Let's reveal the number 9 best coaster state. We're heading to the Peach State of Georgia. A wonderful state for this hobby. Let's start from the bottom, quite literally, and work our way up. There's a park called Wild Adventures all the way to the south in Valdosta, with a bunch of clones, mostly Vekomas. This park exists. Next up, all the way to the north, near Chattanooga, Tennessee, for Lake Winnipesaukee. Not much here coaster-wise, but they have a very underrated old wooden coaster called Cannonball, with solid airtime in this thing. Next we go to another extremely small park with not many coasters, except for, oh yeah, the most "how is this coaster here" statement on Earth. Fun Spot Atlanta, home to the phenomenal Airy Force 1. Somehow one of the best RMCs and coasters, period, is at this small roadside fun spot park, and it is no joke. If there was any top 10 debate about Georgia before this, it ended with Airy Force 1. And of course, finally, the place to go for coasters here, Six Flags over Georgia. What they have in clones, they at least have the best versions of them, with their Superman Ultimate Flight being great, and their Batman the Ride being an out-of-control god of an invert. One of the best, period. Their older rides of Great American Scream Machine and the B&M Stand-Up Georgia Scorcher are actually still very good. Blue Hawk and the, sadly, new Riddler Mindbender are the weak spots, but made up by a great little RMC in Twisted Cyclone, which, while one of the shortest in both height and length, it's still wonderful. And last but not least, Goliath, a B&M hyper that keeps getting better and better as it goes, and what some say, me included, is the best hyper of them all. Georgia has so many options for great coasters, and if you think Georgia should actually be even higher, I hear you. But there's zero doubt, it's a top 10 state for roller coasters. Alright, full disclosure time all. I've been back and forth with number 8 through number 6. A classic quantity versus quality debate. And I did come to a conclusion, finally. As at number 8, now is the time for New Jersey. With 49 coasters, New Jersey is easily the most roller coaster dense state based on area, with a ton of parks. The Jersey Shore has some great options for coasters. You got Hydrus at Casino Pier, the very underrated Gale Force at Playland Castaway Cove in Ocean City, and the mecca of Jersey Shore parks, Maury's Piers, with 7 coasters. All with wonderful ocean views, notably Great White, a fun CCI, one of the oldest but still best boomerangs in Sea Serpent, and the best Vekoma SLC in the world, Great Nor'easter. Such a good ride that makes a trip here worth it. Remember Nick Universe in Minnesota? New Jersey has one too, right outside of MetLife Stadium at the American Dream Mall. Except this one is a much better park coaster-wise than at the Mall of America. The world's steepest coaster, Shellraiser, lives here with 7 inversions and a launch. Sandy's Blasting Bronco, in my opinion the park's best, also a highlight with intense forwards and backwards launches. But you all know the main draw to New Jersey, Six Flags Great Adventure. While they do have some crap, Green Lantern, they have a truly excellent top 5. Medusa being one of the best B&M floorless coasters, Nitro one of the best B&M hypers, Jersey Devil being the wonderful single rail RMC that this park needed. They got the world's tallest roller coaster, the legendary King de Ka, 128 miles per hour, 456 feet tall. I love how this thing is still kicking almost 20 years later. And of course, we got another one of the world's best wooden coasters, El freaking Toro. While having some tough last few years, El Toro still brings it better than mostly everyone. New Jersey is a premier coaster state that just can't be argued. It may still have some rides having you say, never again. Let's also shout out Hellcat here. But it still has plenty to have you keep coming back time and time again. I mentioned I was back and forth between New Jersey and some other states. Well, time to reveal one of those others. The number 7 spot of Virginia. Now, Virginia has only about half of the coasters New Jersey does, but there's almost no coaster in the entire state that you could call truly bad. I'll hear you about King's Dominion's Anaconda and Arrow Looper, but that's about it. Speaking of King's Dominion, in my opinion, it's one of the best in the entire Cedar Fair chain. A solid supporting cast of roller coasters, with again one of the best B&M floorlesses in Dominator, 2 good wooden coasters, the Fun Racer 75, and the thank God it's been retracked because it's running like a dream, Grizzly. A still solid and intense indoor launch coaster in Flight of Fear. And we talked about 1-2 punches in the last video. King's Dominion might just do it better than anyone, with Project 305, formerly Intimidator, being the most intense and purely fast coaster in the world, and Twisted Timbers being maybe the best small-scale RMC ever created. King's Dominion on its own would put Virginia high, but then you add Busch Gardens Williamsburg, yeah, number 7 is valid all. Tempesto, a Skyrocket 2, is their only It's Just Okay coaster. And alright, maybe their family wooden GCI Invader as well. But you got a god tier B&M invert with Alpengeist, an absolute icon in the coaster world. Same for Loch Ness Monster, which was newly retracked and rethemed, being a legit Hall of Fame legend. Griffin, in my opinion, is still one of the best B&M dives. Apollo's Chariot, the very first B&M hyper, while not the best anymore, does give one of the best hyper night rides, especially in that wooded setting. Verbolten, the very highly underrated and unique Zero launch coaster, with some surprising intensity in that indoor section, and other surprises as well. And thankfully, no theme aside, they finally got that legit new coaster in Pantheon. A truly wonderful, intimate multi launch that gives you all the sensations you love about coasters. Virginia is, of course, for lovers. I roll, I know. But oh, baby, is it for roller coasters too. With two absolutely wonderful parks with fantastic rides all around. Coming in at number 6 is maybe a hot take on my part, but hopefully, with my explanation, makes sense. Here at number 6 is the state of Missouri. That's right, the Show Me State shows up for roller coasters. See, this is the first state thus far that has not one, not two, but 3 legit roller coaster parks. Starting with what almost all would say is the lesser of the 3, Six Flags St. Louis. While far from the best of the best, with some very bad rides here, Ninja and, yeah, for most, the Boss, although still a massive beast of a wooden coaster. There's still a total of 10 coasters here, highlighted by Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, American Thunder, and Screamin' Eagle, all unique from each other, delivering some excellent moments, launches, airtime, and a great old school night ride, respectively. It's a good time here. You won't leave feeling overall disappointed. But now we go across the state to Kansas City for the delightful Worlds of Fun. Another solid collection of supporting coasters, especially with their new GCI Zambezi Zinger, the B&M Invert Patriot, and the okay but still fun Din Timberwolf. But hello 1-2 punch discussion again, as does Worlds of Fun have one in Mamba and Prowler. Mamba before 2023 used to be just okay, but now that they've loosened the trim brakes, oh does this thing cook, especially the second half. And Prowler is not just one of the best GCIs ever built, it's one of the best night rides, period. These 2 parks would be enough to get Missouri pretty high in the rankings, but we're not even to the best yet. Branson, Missouri, which additionally has 3 excellent alpine coasters, FYI, also has a park called Silver Dollar City, one of the best pure theme parks in the world, all with every roller coaster being good to great to elite. Thunderation, one of the best Arrowmine trains. Wildfire, a beautiful B&M full of some of the best views out there. Powder Keg, a very punchy and underrated S&S. And my big argument for having Missouri at number 6 is not just having 3 parks, but 2 of those having legit 1-2 punches. Silver Dollar Cities being, of course, Outlaw Run, an out-of-control RMC Woody with an unreal, maybe best in the country, night ride, and the just wonderful Time Traveler, having one of the best drops of any coaster, especially in the back. A different out-of-control sensation every ride, and such charming theming, and also a great night ride. It's a top-tier state all, and makes for one of the best 3-day weekends any enthusiast can take in the entire country. Add to the fact there's 3 great night rides in Missouri, and I'm sold on my reasoning for putting it over Virginia and New Jersey. Holy crap, guys, it's the top 5. And 5 states that I think most can agree are easily the best 5. But in which order? That's my job for this series, and at number 5, I got the state of Texas, y'all. So many parks to choose from here, all having highly praised and legit roller coasters. Where to even start? How about at ZDT's for Switchback, a one-of-its-kind gravity group that goes forwards and backwards? What about Kemah Boardwalk, with another wild gravity group, Boardwalk Bullet, that some would say is the state's best? There's Iron Shark in Galveston that brings the views, and other small parks that contribute to Texas's 65 coasters. But there's a true big 3 when it comes to Texas parks. Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington, the original Six Flags, has not necessarily an elite, but still solid collection. Highlights include the first ever RMC in New Texas Giant, arguably the best Schwarzkopf in the world with Shockwave, an intense Giovanola Hyper in Titan, and another Mr. Freeze. The coaster capital of Texas, however, lies in San Antonio. While probably the weakest of the SeaWorld parks, The San Antonio version has potentially the chain's best overall coaster, the God tier GCI Texas Stingray, maybe the best in the state, period. Steel Eel is also a very, very fun coaster with some wild airtime. But then you have one of the best chain parks in the country, the amazing Six Flags Fiesta Texas. An unreal 1-2 RMC punch of Iron Rattler, wonderfully interacting with that quarry wall, and the How Is It This Fast Insane Raptor in Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster. Probably the best B&M floorless in Superman Krypton coaster, a brand new B&M dive in Dr. Diabolical with a highly themed queue, an underrated themed launch coaster in Poltergeist, a good Batman, a fun mine train. Fiesta is a wonderful time, as is any coaster trip to Texas. So many options, and I don't think many of you would disagree that this is a no doubt top 5 coaster state. Time to get spicy, everyone. Here we go. As the 4 states left, many that live there could probably make and would make a legitimate case of why they should be number 1. And I hear you. All 4 very well could. It's the clear top 4 in my opinion. And I've thought long and hard for many weeks about it. So let's do it. As at number 4, we have the state of, oh boy, Ohio. I can hear it now. The torches are being lit and the pitchforks are coming out of the shed. My argument. While Ohio has 2 of the best, if not the 2 best, roller coaster parks in the US, with Cedar Point and Kings Island, the key word there is 2. There's just the 2. And yes, there's Stricker's Grove, a park only open to the public 8 days a year, making it honestly irrelevant for this discussion. The Columbus Zoo has the Woody Sea Dragon and some random creds here and there. It's about Cedar Point and Kings Island, guys. From a pure top to bottom standpoint, probably the best in the US. Steel Vengeance, Maverick, Millennium Force, Magnum XL 200, 4 icons of Cedar Point, 4 rides that you'll go on over and over again and rave about for decades. And hopefully the same with Top Thrill 2, which looks to be an incredible reimagined version. Here's hoping its current situation that it's in now is the only snag this ride has for years to come. And of course you got your second tier of Raptor, Gemini, Gatekeeper, and so much more. Kings Island is unreal as well, maybe even better top to bottom than Cedar Point, not really having a true bad coaster. Mystic Timbers is debatably the best GCI in the States. A hugely popular 1-2 B&M punch in Orion and Diamondback. The Beast is one of the most unique and beloved wooden coasters ever. Ohio is the best, not even close, not even worth discussing, 2-park state in the US. And why it's number 4. I just think with the higher variety of park options the 3 states ahead of it has, I just couldn't put Ohio over any of them. And I'll certainly explain why and see if you agree. And now we're at the number 3 state. We still doing okay, all? I hope so. Number 3, not too far from Ohio, it's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania versus Ohio is a truly great debate. So let's talk about Pennsylvania's coaster collection by comparing it to Ohio. I think we would all agree the crown jewel of Pennsylvania is the incredible Hershey Park. 14 roller coasters here, most of them beyond great. Skyrush and Wildcats Revenge, my goodness, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the world, seriously. The intense, out-of-control car crash-like experience of Skyrush is unmatched. And then you get the holy crap, why is this one of the best RMCs airtime of Wildcats Revenge. Storm Runner has one of the best launches in the country. Candemonium, Great Bear, Lightning Racer, Fahrenheit Comet. Hershey can compete with Cedar Point all. I'll still give the edge to Cedar Point, but it's close. Add Knoebels with the wild buzz bar airtime of Phoenix and the wild laterals of Twister and 3 other coasters. You combine Knoebels and Hershey, you're topping Cedar Point. So now you have Kennywood outside of Pittsburgh, one of the most old school throwback parks in the country, with 3 classic wooden coasters, all opening before 1927. You got a fun launch coaster in Skyrocket, a huge standing but usually not operating disaster of a ride in Steel Curtain, and a beauty called Phantom's Revenge, a certified top 25 coaster on almost everyone's list. You have Dorney Park, maybe not having any mind-blowing coasters, but an awesome collection of B-tier rides, especially with Talon and Steel Force, which I hear got the Mamba treatment. So that would change things too. And then you still have Waldemure's Ravine Flyer 2 and Sesame Place's Oscar's Wacky Taxi, 2 excellent gravity groups. So does Hershey and Knobel's top Cedar Point? I think so. And does Kennywood, Dorney, Waldemere, and Sesame Place, and let's also add Idlewild and Dutch Wonderland as well. Do all those parks together top Kings Island? I also think so. I rest my case, guys. Pennsylvania is a better overall coaster state than Ohio. 2 left. The home stretch. Let's not mince words and just flat out announce the number 2 state is California, the state with by far the most roller coasters in the US, over 90. If it were its own country, it would be 12th in the entire world. Let's try not to have a 15-minute segment here and compare to Pennsylvania. We of course start with one of the world's coaster capitals, the one with more coasters than any other, Six Flags Magic Mountain. 20 roller coasters in this park, more than 34 states just on its own. The standouts being 2 RMCs, the LOL Dueling Twisted Colossus and the Single Rail Raptor Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, a gem of a B&M flyer in Tatsu, maybe the best from B&M in the US after Fury 325. 2 highly underrated premieres with the actual dueling launch coaster of West Coast Racers, and the also launch coaster Full Throttle, with maybe the world's best vertical loop, and maybe the most insane, scary, and otherworldly ride in the country, X2. A polarizing ride, but those that love it, love it. Hershey versus Magic Mountain. A decent debate, but just for this discussion, let's say Hershey's better. Because then you have Knott's Berry Farm, maybe the best themed park of the Cedar Fair Six Flags merger. A great top 4 of Ghost Rider, Accelerator, Silver Bullet, and Hang Time. Let's compare Knott's to Knobel's. I think Knott's gets the edge here all. Now we go to Northern California for California's Great America. The easy comparison here is with Dorney, both being Cedar Fair parks, and while Dorney may not have a true stinker of a coaster, they don't have a 1-2 like Gold Striker and Railblazer, an awesome GCI RMC combo. And then there's Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, also having an RMC with Joker, a B&M Floorless in Medusa, a Skyrocket 2. Compare that to Kennywood? Point to Pennsylvania. Those big 4 coaster parks in each state, it's close. So now it's just Pennsylvania's small parks left versus, yeah, we're not done in California. Because in addition to 2 classic Giant Dipper Woodies in Santa Cruz and San Diego, oh yeah, we still have SeaWorld San Diego and their especially awesome B&M dive, Emperor. And, while not a significant coaster park yet, you got Universal Hollywood. And still, you know, the most famous park on Earth, Disneyland. With the classics you know and love, especially the first ever Arrow and modern steel coaster in Matterhorn. And you gotta give a shout out to California Adventure's Incredicoaster. This is where the debate ends versus Pennsylvania all, making California the easy choice for number 2. Meaning the number 1 roller coaster state. A place you go to forget, a place to bury those regrets, and a place that's one hell of a drug. Florida. It may not have the quantity of California, and even when you go park versus park, Pennsylvania and Ohio could have some arguments. But Florida is the king of quality. The best way, in my opinion, to discuss Florida's coasters is to do it historically. Everyone knows Disney's Space Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain, coasters still beloved almost 50 years later. The 90s saw Legit Thrills finally enter the conversation, with Busch Gardens Tampa opening Kumba and Montu, two B&Ms still considered two of the best from the manufacturer even today. The late 90s saw the opening of Universal's Islands of Adventure and the iconic Incredible Hulk, with Disney also adding a launch coaster, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. The 2000s saw SeaWorld Orlando enter the coaster game, with some more B&Ms, the Floorless Kraken and the Intense Flyer Manta. Two of the most themed coasters ever opened at Universal and Disney, with Revenge of the Mummy and Expedition Everest respectively. Busch Gardens kept adding through this decade as well, and into the 2010s with SheiKra and Cheetah Hunt. And even the roadside Fun Spot America added a GCI in 2013 with White Lightning. Even with all this, Florida would still probably be only at number 4 or number 5. But then 2016 forever changed the coaster landscape of Florida, with SeaWorld's Mako being one of the best and smoothest B&M hypers ever, and it has not stopped since. 2017, the Kissimmee Fun Spot gets Mindblower, an airtime-filled wooden coaster with an inversion. 2019, we got Hagrid's, maybe the best purely themed family coaster ever made. And then 2021 hits, where we saw the opening of just maybe the best roller coaster ever built. The perfect combo of theme, thrills, airtime, launches, pacing, in Jurassic World's Velocicoaster. You'd be hard-pressed to find any enthusiast that doesn't have this in their top 10. SeaWorld then opens Icebreaker in 2022. Busch Gardens Tampa then opens Iron Gwazi, another insanely intense and airtime-filled gem of an RMC that had people questioning if it was even better than Velocicoaster as the world's best. Disney then adds freaking Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, arguably the best purely fun coaster ever. And the next year, the visually stunning Tron Light Cycle Run finally opened in 2023. SeaWorld keeps going with Pipeline the Surf Coaster, officially revitalizing the B&M stand-up. Just pure insanity what Florida has received in the last decade. I hear your debates, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and California. I do. All I'll say is enjoy it for now. Because when this bad boy opens at Epic Universe next year, Starfall Racers, I'm sorry, any debate will officially end. Whether you're a kid, a teenager, a casual park fan, just a casual human, or a die-hard roller coaster enthusiast, when you're asked where you want to go for roller coasters, the number one answer for them all will almost always be Florida. Holy crap, guys. It's over. All 50 states officially ranked, hopefully more thoroughly than any other so far. This was easily the most thought and effort I've put into a video project thus far, and I once again cannot thank you enough for such wonderful support, encouragement, and engagement to this series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it, and you can for sure expect more ranking videos in the months and years to come. If you haven't yet, subscribing to the channel would mean the world to me and my goal of trying to grow this channel as much as humanly possible. You guys rock. I love you all so much, and I'll see you wonderful human beings next time.